as we
Scott Plex City.
Marks.
So that's gonna be cool.
Scott Plex City.
Marks.
Scott Plex City.
Marks.
Scott Plex City.
Marks.
What up? Welcome back from your 4th of July weekend. Hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you didn't get injured, didn't JPP yourself.
I was going to say, don't do JPPs there. Mm-hmm.
What up? It's Scott Panks, Scotty B's right there.
Yo.
This is Scott Plex City. Hit that subscribe button in Panks Podcast, and you'll be notified when we drop Scott Plex City each and every single Wednesday. Also, I just want to drop a little podcast programming note with the podcast I do. The other podcast I do, just Panks Podcast, straight up, just Panks Podcast. That's going to be tomorrow. I have an interview tomorrow with someone from the UFC, so I want to incorporate that into it. So that will be tomorrow. But into the wrestling, before we get into everything that went down at Raw and as we lead up to Battleground, I do want to mention, as we're here talking about the UFC, UFC 200 is happening this weekend. Brock Lesnar is set to take on Mark Hunt. It's going to be probably one of the most talked about fights of the year.
That whole pay-per-view is going to be awesome because you have Jones versus Cormier.
That's amazing.
And I believe Misha Tate's got a title defense too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
She does.
This card is stacked.
This is the card of all cards. And Brock Lesnar returns just in time for like the biggest card so far of the year. Arguably this, other than maybe the next Conor Diaz fight, this is the fight of the year for UFC.
This is the one that they're all talking about right now. I mean, they might be a little bit of something when the CM Punk one happens, but I don't really know of any of the big higher card fights on that particular
maybe when Ronda Rousey returns,
that's
probably going to be a big one.
If she returns.
I would think
she's going to do at least one more fight. She has to.
She's got to get redemption.
She's got to redeem herself.
So Brock Lesnar will step into the octagon this weekend. He had a great little interview on some sport network thing, and he was talking about how his contract is set up. His lawyers made sure it was set up so he could go about doing stuff like re-entering the UFC and still be in the WWE at a time. There was stuff with the contracts and stuff that he had to make sure his lawyers were involved. Vince had to get the lawyers involved. But either way, it was resolved. There was no problem, he said. And him and Vince's working relationship is the best it's ever been now. It's a mutual respect. He said him going away the first time to UFC really kind of got the respect and stuff from Vince and him respecting Vince coming back. So that's good to hear that there's not any drama here between the two of them.
That's a good thing.
And it's not like they're just going to can Brock Lesnar when his contract's over with and be like, okay, well, you want to screw us and go to the UFC and possibly jeopardize SummerSlam. Well, we're not going to re-sign you to this ridiculous, like, millions and millions of dollar contract for you to just wrestle, like, 5 times. But what's happening on SmackDown tomorrow night?
SmackDown tomorrow night, they are going to announce who Brock Lesnar's opponent for SummerSlam is.
Okay.
And the tapings happened on Tuesday night, but they didn't do any sort of announcement there, so it's going to be something that's pre-produced, and they're just going to slide it into the show somewhere. There's rumors abound that it's going to be Randy Orton possibly, but that's just rumors, that's just dirt sheets. It very well could be true. It'd be a great first fight back for Randy Orton, but we'll have to wait and see for SmackDown. That's where everyone's going to find out definitely what's going to happen in SummerSlam.
Now, this is great for Randy Orton. It'd be a great way for Randy Orton to get reintroduced to the WWE Universe. Not like he's been forgotten, but he's been away for a while.
Out of all the people who've been injured, he's
Maybe
been away for
a year?
Yeah, probably the longest, I would say, almost.
A long time.
I can't remember the last time he was on.
I'm going to look that up as we go along here. But is this the right fight, though, for Brock Lesnar? It's good for Randy Orton, but is it good for Brock Lesnar? Would it be better for Brock to take on somebody?
I would think someone like Kevin Owens or maybe Bray Wyatt would be a whole lot better. Basically just the big guy versus big guy thing. But I think that Vince wants like a real. I'm not saying that Kevin Owens and Bray Wyatt are not names, but someone like Randy Orton who's been there for quite some time, he's a seasoned vet. I think that's what they want to do for a big show like this, is to have him go against Brock and really make SummerSlam as big as they can.
Lesnar, Orton,
Yeah.
SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
Lesnar, Owens, SummerSlam.
I
Still sounds good to me.
all three of them would sound great to me, actually. I mean, I'm not hating on any of those matches because, I mean, when Orton first started out, he was green. He was very green, but he has gotten so much better over the years. I've never been a huge fan of him, but he's gotten so much better over the years, and especially the whole RKO out of nowhere. Once that internet thing started happening, that's when I really started becoming a bigger fan of Randy. I've never been a huge fan of him.
Neither have I.
But I started respecting him a little bit more and just digging him more because the RKO is one of the coolest freaking moves there is. Even though it's basically a diamond cutter, it's still a cool move, especially the way that he does it, the whole out of nowhere thing.
Oh yeah, that's probably what makes it that's what really not probably, but that's what makes it so awesome is the fact that it is completely out of nowhere and it's a surprise move.
Yeah.
Surprise moves are cool, but the one thing about the surprise moves is that there's not really a build up to the sequence. Some of the greatest wrestlers of all time always have a build up to their finisher.
Mm-hmm.
But Randy Orton, I was also looking. He went out October 15th. That was when he had his match and he injured his shoulder.
Wow. So it's been close to a year.
9 months.
If he comes back at SummerSlam's his
10
first,
months.
Close to a year, yeah.
And you got to remember, he wasn't that active in 2015 either.
Not really at all.
Like they kind of shelved him for a minute, and then I think he had some.
And he came back, and then it was like, okay, he needs surgery, and back on the shelf.
We're gonna get talking about Sasha Banks and Charlotte, where this feud is leading. The Club really starting a whole new meme with John Cena. We'll talk about the New Day, Seth Rollins, all that in just a little bit. But let's talk about this food fight that started off Raw. It's your typical Raw food fight. Good stuff, They had little funny moments in it. Heath Slater gets chokeslammed by Kane and Big Show. You got R-Truth. He's rapping up on stage and Goldust is his hype man or whatever Goldust is doing up there with him.
I mean, the whole thing was goofy as hell, but I was enjoying it. I mean, I was reading some stuff on Twitter, and people were like, "Oh, this is dumb." And
it was dumb. Of course, it was dumb.
It was funny.
Yeah.
Jericho eating something, and all of a sudden he takes a Band-Aid out of his mouth and starts getting sick, and it was just a bunch of goofy humor, and that's just what you need to start off a show sometimes.
I thought it was well placed. I mean, if they did something like this all the time, it's dumb. But it's the 4th of July. They were just being topical. When you got to think, when the 4th of July or holidays happen, you get together with your family and your friends and you cook out and you hang out outside and you eat food and you joke with one another and all that. And that's exactly what they were trying to say right there. Like, hey, this is our family and our friends.
Everyone's getting together. Everyone's having fun.
Yep, we're celebrating America,
Exactly.
And then, but the highlight of it all is Kevin Owens.
All of a sudden you see him go underneath the table, and he's just sitting there the whole time, eating a bag of chips.
I love Kevin Owens.
He just does the simplest things, and it's perfect. You know?
And then everybody leaves the room after the food fight's over, and this is after Heath Slater's all been chokeslammed and everything's laying in the ground. Everybody throws food on him. He gets up and he's just laughing. He's all cleaned off. And then somebody hit him with a pie.
They didn't show who it was.
But somebody hit him with a pie.
I wonder if that's going to be a start of a new feud. Whoever hit him with the pie is going to be the next feud for Kevin Owens. Could happen. Who knows? It's probably Sami Zayn. Who knows?
Somebody's going to be Sami Zayn. Yeah. But I like that. I want the Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens story to continue to unfold.
I mean, they're acting like it's going to end at Battleground, but come on.
It can't end at
Battleground. These guys are just too good working together. You got to keep it going.
And I know we talked about doing a mock draft this week.
We were a little bit, holidays and stuff like that.
We're doing it next week.
Yeah, we'll do it next week.
I don't like to promise stuff and all that, but we're definitely doing it next week, 100%. I went away.
I was going to say, yeah.
I was on vacation. I completely forgot that I was going on vacation. I got back late last night from Virginia, and I just, I caught Raw, real quick. Came today. I'm not even technically supposed to be here in the building.
I'm not supposed to be here today.
But I'm here doing this podcast for you. And Scotty B, he comes in early to do it for you.
Mhm.
But anyways, I'm not trying to brag or like throw anything in your face. But yeah,
But we
so
love
with
you.
we do love you. But with everything that went on, unfortunately, kind of forgot about the draft and it kind of went over our head. But we'll do it next week and it'll be just in time
Absolutely.
for that. So
because it'll be the next week. The actual real draft will be the following week, right?
yeah. So later on tonight, it's the 16th.
Yes.
Later on tonight, when I go home and everything after the podcast, I'm going to put together a little thing. I'll get together all the main wrestlers. Well, the way I figured it, we'll do all the main wrestlers, like, the top 15, 20 guys, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll take, like, the next, 10 guys or so from NXT and
That
just
works.
kind of throw it in there. Because if we do everybody on the roster,
It's going to take a while too.
and it's going to get super confusing.
Yeah.
It really just matters. Where's the Shield going? What's happening with the Wyatts? What's happening with New Day? What's going on with Alberto? What's going on with Kevin? What's going on with Sam? There's only very few things that are like we always say when we do a podcast. We like to have it mean something. Talk about all the moments that are truly and that really are memorable. We don't want to just talk about the blast. So we're going to make sure it's good. Next week, that draft will happen. And if not, just tweet at me, brah.
Come at me, bro. And tweet
All right,
at
brah?
me.
Tweet at
Brah?
me, brah. So I don't know, where were we before that? We're talking about, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn with the feud. They can't separate them two. They got to keep them together.
They very well might. I mean,
I feel like you got to keep some feuds
it might
together.
be a way to rest it, and then eventually maybe the next year they'll do another draft where
Yeah,
it's like
that's
they
true.
shake things up a little bit.
It's also a
and
way
move
to get
somebody and-
SmackDown hype, though.
Yeah.
That you can only get the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens feud on SmackDown.
True.
And that's a big
That'd be a
That's a big
way to do
thing.
that too.
That
Mhm.
bring in numbers, them smarks. That's what they want to see right there. If it's not on Raw, they're gonna watch it on SmackDown. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's talk about Sasha and Charlotte right now. Charlotte comes out. She's cutting a promo. I don't know. Charlotte. Charlotte. She sounded extremely scripted on Monday night.
Yeah.
That it wasn't really her. She's out there talking the talk how she's the best, Sasha comes out and she interrupts her and says, "This is what you got to do to be a legit boss." After we get done complimenting Dana Brooke last week of being able to job out to Sasha Banks amazingly and make her look good,
Yeah.
she botches.
She botched something. I'm like, oh, no, not
it's
again.
The whole segment. I mean, Charlotte didn't do that good of a job. Her vulnerability on being on the mic was definitely exposed a lot on Monday Night Raw.
And she had gotten so much better.
Yeah.
This last year or so, and then you're right. It seemed a little forced.
Yeah, and then she was off on timing, and there's points where she should have let the crowd breathe, but she jumped in and cut. It was very amateurish. I guess that's what happens when you're around Dana Brooke, because when you're around that quality, you become that quality a lot of times.
Which is a shame.
So I think that's not... It's a huge step back from working with Rick. I'm not saying that Charlotte's the best promo girl or best promo person in the game, but she's been a lot better than what she was on Monday night. But anyway, so Dana botches everything with the elbow. That looked like garbage. Then there was supposed to be that kick, and it was she messed up on that. And even Sasha looked at her like,
"What are you doing?
What is going on here?" And then we got the little part where Charlotte and Sasha, they go at it. Sasha flips her over and puts her in the bank statement again. And the whole point of it was how Charlotte was talking about how she's the best woman over the past year, best women's champion basically ever. And then Sasha is saying, "Well, you never beat me."
Which is true.
Before we get into it, do they separate them? Or do they keep them together with the brands, do you think?
I think you have to keep them together. I mean...
Because this is their big feud for the next 4 or 5 months,
I
right?
mean, I would think that this will be the SummerSlam match, unless they're going to have a match with them at Battleground. They haven't hyped anything yet. They're talking about a Becky Lynch-Natalya match. They might have a match between those two as well. But to me, this is something big for SummerSlam. Unless they do a match at Battleground and there's all sorts of chaos because of disqualification and they have a rematch at SummerSlam, or they add people to the match, make it like a fatal four-way or whatever. But I don't know if you separate them. If they're going for a feud, you got to have this last for a while. So I would think they're both going to end up on SmackDown, both going to end up on Raw.
Do you think Sasha being away this long has hurt her, diminished her?
She's still getting the pops, so I don't think so.
Do you think she's the right person for this, to go into SummerSlam facing Charlotte, or do you think it maybe should be somebody like Paige with? I'm not saying Sasha don't have a big name, but isn't Paige's name bigger? Or
I think they're just pushing
Sasha?
Sasha big time. So
here's something else with the Paige. Do you think Paige is kind of looking like an outsider in this new revolution that the current women?
It seems to be, though. I think it might have a lot to do with the fact that she's really busy doing the whole Total Divas thing. So it seems to be the females that are on that show aren't so prevalent in the ring. So you have your Sasha, who's not on the show, Charlotte, Dana, and a few, Becky, and all them. They're not on the show, so they're getting a lot more wrestling time. Paige, now that she's on that show, seems to be on the back burner a little bit more. So
right.
That seems to be the way they're kind of going.
Because
it
was like when she first came in, she was like so far ahead of all the other women.
Mm-hmm.
Now it looks like now she looks like she's behind all the women,
which is a shame.
It's a weird position.
I think
that
she's one of the best.
I agree.
The best.
If I was to say who is the best in the women's division, I would say like Paige, Charlotte, and Sasha. They're the top three, and then you throw Becky. Becky's arguably a top three. Those four right there, that's the women's division.
Absolutely.
Those are the money makers. That's who you want in the ring, Then you got your Natalya, and then when Nikki comes back, hopefully, you got those guys. But, Sasha, Charlotte, Paige, and Becky, they
are your women's division. Absolutely.
Now also, since we're talking about the Divas, before we get talking about Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose and the New Day, how do you feel about kayfabe completely being broken with Lana wearing an American shirt, posting on Instagram, talking highly of America?
Kayfabe is dead. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the simple fact that they went there with Roman Reigns, they talked about his suspension, and everything they do on the network these days, where, you have all this stuff that you can see that Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns are hanging out in the back talking to each other, or guys who are supposed to be enemies hanging out in the back, all these specials that they have on there. And I mean, the simple fact was that they were all having a picnic together, the heels and the faces. I mean, even that tells you, really, that these guys are supposed to kind of hate each other, but they're breaking bread together. What does that say? I mean, it's basically dead, especially on social media. I mean, I think they had a tour in Honolulu where there was pictures of Charlotte and Becky hanging out on the beach. They're not supposed to be friends right now, right?
Right.
Kayfabe is dead.
Does it hurt the industry?
I don't think so. When it's social media and stuff like that, I don't think people really care. Basically, I think it's Vince McMahon's thought, and probably the whole WWE's thought, that the only thing that matters is what happens on TV. Everything else doesn't matter. It's just like if something happens at a house show or something like that. It doesn't matter. If a guy's like undefeated but he loses at a house show, he's still undefeated because it didn't happen on TV. That's the way it's been for a long time, and that's still the way it is.
Right. Yeah, and then, but then it's like she does that, and then Rusev comes out the next night.
That would be cool, something like that, that they want to do that sort of thing, but they seem to be still pushing Lana as just the ravishing Russian and all with Rusev, and I don't know if they'll do anything like that, but that would be a good idea for a way to finally turn her face like they were planning on doing before, and then the whole marriage thing kind of botched everything up. That would be a cool idea. I would like that. She gets rid of the whole accent and whatever, because obviously she's not really Russian. Every once in a while she'll start talking and she loses a little bit of that Russian accent.
How did you feel about Rusev and Titus O'Neil's match on Monday night?
To have that happen on the 4th of July kind of sucked. You know, the guy is supposed to be the All-American.
When he came out like Apollo Creed, I was like, oh, here we go.
Here we go. They're kind of overblowing this whole 4th of July thing. It's just a shame that, I mean, they put Titus in this. Almost, like we said, I think it was last week, it almost seems like they're just doing this to bury Titus.
Right.
They're just keeping
He just
keep
can't
on
get
burying
over
him.
it.
They just can't seem to get over it. And it was like this little thing, not a big deal. And he's still just getting beat up by Rusev.
And then Rusev wants to rename the 4th of July to Rusev Day, but you don't want to rename the title? Like, what type of logic is that? Rename the freaking title. Call it Rusev's title, or call it the Bulgarian title, or whatever. Like, oh, that's that.
But maybe that's so. And just to call it the U.S. title, have a Bulgarian, a guy who's not from America, you know, carrying it. That's just, you know, sand in the wound enough, you know.
I do love Rusev. I love his facial expressions. That's my favorite thing about him, to be honest with you. John Cena takes on the club. He calls out the club saying that, oh, you always fight them. They always jump in. You can never trust them. So then AJ and the club come out and they say, like, basically, to sum it up, they basically say, there's nothing more fun than beating up John Cena, and that no matter where we are, what day it is, we're going to beat up John Cena.
On Halloween, I'm going to dress up like Bushwhacker Butch, and then I'm going to beat up John Cena.
It was so good. I really enjoyed that. And then you had Enzo and Big Cass come out.
I saw that. I remember you saying a few weeks back that you didn't want to see them team up with John Cena, and then when they came out, I'm like, Scott's not happy.
Not at all. Like, it was so...
But it's a way to get Enzo and Cass over more, and for the people who love Enzo and Big Cass, you kind of have to root for John Cena too. So it's kind of a way to get the people who hate John Cena, get him over.
Yeah.
With the people,
I don't
smart
like
thinking.
It is smart thinking. I just don't like the. I don't like the team of those two.
But who else are you gonna have? I mean, really, you can't really use the Usos because they were with Roman Reigns. Yep. That was the family going on there with the bloodline, like you like to call them. And they started calling them that after a while.
Weirdly.
But I mean, who else would you really use? I mean, Enzo and Big Cass is the smart choice if you're gonna have this 3-on-3.
Yeah.
Which they are going to have at Battleground.
No, you're right with that. I don't like it. It makes sense. I don't like it at the end of the day. But, you know, I'm happy to see that Enzo and Big Cass are being used in big situation and high-profile matches. So I can't complain about that because they've only been there a couple months, and the fact that they're already there, they're incorporated with AJ Styles and John Cena is pretty amazing. So I'm looking forward to that. That's coming up, you know, Battleground. We'll see what takes place and how that transpires, if it's going to be a 3-on-3 type match.
It is. It's happening. It was.
Oh, it was set?
Yes, it was set.
Okay. Then also the New Day and the Wyatts. This is getting serious. They're going to be fighting them at their compound. And, you know, not AJ Styles, I'm thinking of, Xavier Woods is saying, hey guys, we really need to take this serious. We're going to their place. It can't be fun and games here. And if we can't be serious here, this is going to be the end of the New Day. And then he walks away at the end of the promo. And you leave in Big E and Kofi. They're just sitting there like, what's going on? So it's going to be interesting to see we're going to get a whole new side of the New Day. And then it's also going to be interesting to see what they're going to do with this match and at their compound. I just had one of my cameras stop recording.
Uh-oh.
So I just hit it again, so we'll see what happened there. That's weird. So pretty much we'll see what happens with that. What do you think it's going to be? Some type of cage, weird match, or a free-for-all match, or are they going to do it outside of arena?
I don't know where they're going to go with this. I mean, it seems that that's where they're kind of going to go, and they'll do some sort of all spooky thing outside this compound, wherever they are there. I'm almost thinking that they're probably that they quite possibly could turn Xavier Woods heel. It just seems, the way they're going with this, and the fact that he's not the fun-loving Xavier Woods anymore, he's just this kind of scared Xavier Woods, and he's
Right.
getting way too serious. Possibly that he's gonna turn on the New Day and he's gonna join the Wyatts.
You think he's going to really enter into the Wyatts and wear a Wyatt's uniform?
I could see it happening. I really could see it happening. The way they're going with this, it's just like, why is he all of a sudden getting way too serious and way too scared? And it just, especially that first time around where it looked like he was kind of drawn
Right.
to Bray Wyatt.
Being summoned to him.
And kind of summoned to him. I'm thinking that might be the way they're going to go, but at the same time, I don't want to see the New Day break up. I mean, because they are so over right now.
Well, could they have it so where, like, Xavier Woods gets, he goes to the dark side, and then New Day fights to bring him back?
That very well could happen too.
Lead it on through SummerSlam and past SummerSlam and all that stuff.
I mean, I think we talked about it before when Daniel Bryan, for that short amount of time, he joined the Wyatts too. They might do the same sort of thing, but like you said, have Big E and Kofi kind of bring him back, and he'll change back to the fun-loving Xavier that we all know and love.
Then we had finally the big other thing was Dean Ambrose took on The Miz in a good match, beat The Miz. Then he stayed out there as Seth Rollins came out. They looked across each other on the walkway, and
Looked like he was going to jump in and beat up on Seth, but he said, nah. Went right over to the
Spanish
announce booth first.
And he's talking horrible Spanish, just throwing O's at the end of words like it's Spanish. It was funny, good segment. He went there, and then at the end, Seth came out, did his match. At the end of Seth's match against Ziggler, they got in their feud. And then he did the dirty deeds to him on the Spanish announce table. But when Dean came out in that belt, he looked strong walking down there. I was like, right around his waist, walking down the ramp, Dean looks really good as a champion.
I think he deserves to be. He totally deserves to be.
Seth's still breaking down the fourth wall, like saying how Roman shouldn't be in it.
I thought they were just going to kind of keep it quiet after that first week, and they're still doing it. I think it's kind of backfiring because I think Vince thinks, if Roman's not supposed to be, if Seth's saying Roman's not supposed to be in this match, people should be like, boo. Everyone's cheering, saying that he shouldn't be in the match. So it's backfiring, Vince. Turn Roman heel.
There's money to be made with it.
Absolutely.
I think if Roman turns heel, a lot of people will actually start to enjoy him. All the smart people people really want to cheer him, but they don't like his childish gimmick that he's got going on. They want him to be that badass like he was when he was in the Shield. He was just the guy that had very few words, but those very few words, he backed those words up with power. And if you recall, we all knew Seth Rollins was probably the most athletic. We knew Dean Ambrose was possibly the next Stone Cold way back then. But Roman Reigns was the chosen one. Don't forget, we all loved Roman Reigns in the Shield. He made us pop the most back then.
And people were cheering him when he was in that Royal Rumble at the last two against Batista. I mean, even before it was only down to him and Batista, people were cheering him when he was throwing everyone out the damn ring, And I think it was the Survivor Series before that, I think, where he eliminated pretty much everyone on the other team. They were cheering him. And then all of a sudden, it's like, people get wind, he's going to be the next guy. Oh, I don't like him anymore.
So it's like, for that matter of fact, turn him heel.
Yeah.
It's easy as that.
Just pull a rock. This would be so easy to do. Pull a rock and have him join up with whoever the evil GM is going to be for one of the two brands or something like that, or however you want to do it. Just have him be a heel and start working back up to the way that kind of The Rock did it.
Right.
I don't know if he'd be as enthusiastic on the mic like The Rock has always been. I don't think he'll ever get to that level. But I could see it happening possibly.
I always just see him very few words and just a powerful beast, similar to Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar, yeah.
If you want somebody to talk for him, get somebody to talk for him. Whatever,
especially
from a manager, whatever. That's cool. But when Roman speaks, have him say very few words. And then have him go out there and dominate. And we'll love it. We want to see him spear. We want to see him do that jumping kick that he does on the side of the
like
ring.
that,
Well, I
yeah.
don't know what it's called when they're hanging
I don't
over
know
the
if you-
rope and he runs up
I think
and he
there's a name
kicks him
for it. I
in the
can't remember
head.
what they call it. Yeah.
So it's like a jumping, sitting kick.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Of course,
we
he
love
does the
those.
Superman
We
punch
love
and
the
all that
Superman
kind of stuff.
punch. We love seeing all those powerful, explosive moves. But we hate it when he's facey.
Mm-hmm. Way too facey.
Turn him. Take your opportunity. Right now is the best opportunity to do it. You could take a horrible situation and make it amazing. Now, do you think if it comes back that it really was like steroids, or maybe even drugs like cocaine or something like this? Now, this is just speculation once again. If it comes back to something like that, do you think he resorted to steroids or to some type of drug because of the pressure he feels and the nonstop assault of words and negativity that he experiences on a daily basis?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like,
I mean,
not
some people-
only in the ring, but on Twitter and social media.
I wouldn't be surprised though. He's getting lambasted constantly. Maybe he just needed something to boost him up a little bit.
Like, maybe if I take these steroids, I'll get bigger. People, mess with me more. Or I'm at the hotel, and, it's been a rough week. You know what? Let me do this line of coke.
I would hope he didn't go that far.
I'm hoping that it's not.
I'm hoping.
But could it be, if it really is that, could it be because the pressure?
It might be because of the pressure, but I doubt it was something that hard. I mean, if it was something like real hard drugs like that, I think he'd be out a lot longer.
Yeah.
Tell you the honest God truth.
Do you think they would put him in rehab?
I think so. If he was doing
And
some
then put
serious
it on
hard
the network?
drugs, that's hard to say.
R&R, Roman's Rehab. This summer on the WWE Network.
I don't think they'd go that far. But if it was some real hard drugs, I don't think they would have probably said, okay, boom, it's going to a 2-on-2 match. We're not even going to hype the fact that he's done. I mean, more than likely, it's probably something that he got at GNC that was not allowed, and that was that, and he screwed up. That is what I'm hoping. That's probably what it was. But if it's something hard, if it was some serious hard drugs, I don't think he'd be even in the title picture right now. He'd probably be off TV for a while.
I can't wait to find out what it was. Eventually, it will leak.
It'll come out
It will
somewhere.
come out eventually. Is that pretty much it? I mean, other than Corbin getting a pretty big push right now,
Mm-hmm.
looks like he's the next big heel. Vicky
Vicky
Guerrero
Guerrero made
came
an
back.
appearance.
I've been waiting for that.
Still
one.
annoying as ever.
People
I
still
was
love
waiting
to
for
boo
that.
her.
Yep.
If they chose anybody outside of Steph or Shane, I think
Absolutely.
Vicky would be the
But
one.
I think she actually went to school. I think after she left WWE to do something,
Right.
and I think she's happy doing that. She wanted out of the wrestling world, and WWE said, "Go right ahead. You've done so much good for us," and obviously WWE helped her and her family out after Eddie died. So I mean, just it all worked out that way.
We also had a little part with Darren Young.
Another
He
let's
got
make
the,
Darren Young great again.
The cross-face chicken wing submission.
I don't think that's going to go over well.
I don't think so either. Is that what they're actually calling it?
Oh yeah, well that's what it was. When Bob Backlund used it, that's the move that he used.
Well, that's kind of they're setting.
We're gonna make Darren Young great again.
People find a lot of stuff out of everything. That one's all written all over it. That 30-man tag team USA versus Canada type thing, whatever it was.
It was kind of predictable.
I didn't really enjoy that.
When I saw that was going to be the last match, I'm like, oh, this is going to be predictable.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
They're like, nobody's gonna be watching. Everybody's out at the fireworks at this time.
Pretty much.
That's what we'll do.
I mean, you knew that Sammy and Kevin were going to go at it. It was pretty obvious that Cesaro was not going to get along with somebody, and that happened. So it was a rather predictable match. But I have to say, Kevin Owens, total badass, doing the pop-up powerbomb to Mark Henry of all guys.
That's crazy.
That's badass.
That's big.
That's big.
That's a big boy right there
Mhm.
to do that too. Gotta respect Mark for still willing to do that. You don't have to do that. He's a legend.
Yeah, the guy's been at it for over 20 years now.
It's crazy to think.
Crazy.
Wow. Him and, like, The Undertaker, like, the longest tenured people there.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
Triple H, I think he came in after Mark.
Might have been around the same time.
But active wrestlers, Mark is...
Yeah.
Mark is...
Active, it's probably Mark, and then probably after that, Triple H. I mean, Big Show's been around for a while, too,
Yeah,
but of course he was WCW.
Chris Jericho's getting up there
Jericho,
now.
yeah.
Wow. There's a lot of people that have been there a minute now. Wow, think about that. WCW days. It's like 15 years ago now.
Longer
14.
than that, dude.
Well, when did they sell it?
Nitro debuted over 20 years ago.
No, but when they sell it? 2001?
Yes. So, yeah.
15.
15 since the end of it, yes.
Wow. Well, so now we're getting ready for the next big thing. The draft is coming soon. Like we
Very
said,
soon.
next week we will do our mock draft. We'll see how that goes. Also this weekend, UFC 200, Brock Lesnar takes...
Let's go, Brock.
that. CM Punk is also September 10th for UFC, like 203 or 201 or 202.
203, I think, CM Punk.
One of the 200s, early 200s.
Who's your prediction for the Brock Hunt match?
Mark Hunt, second round.
I say it's going to be Brock by decision. It's going to go all 3 rounds. Who's your prediction for Jones and Cormier?
Jones.
I'm going Cormier.
Yeah?
Cormier just, I think just Jones deserves an ass whipping.
Oh, he definitely does.
This is going to happen.
But
I think Cormier is ready for this one.
I think he is ready, but I feel that also Jones is ready because he's really trying to get back and trying to, because before he got in all his legal trouble, he was like,
True.
he was like the Conor McGregor before Conor McGregor.
This is true.
So I think he's got a lot to prove for himself too. That's the match of the night.
Yeah.
That is going to be the highlight. Brock Lesnar, Mark Hunt's going to be slow.
That's a special attraction right there.
Yeah. I'm excited for it.
I am too.
Then we got SummerSlam, or we got Battleground the following week.
Battleground following week, yeah.
And then also, like you said earlier in the podcast, we also will find out this week Brock Lesnar's opponent at SummerSlam. Hopefully Brock don't get injured this weekend,
Let's hope like hell.
because if he's injured,
No match.
it was SummerSlam. Damn. All right, Hunt, don't break his arm.
No, don't do anything too bad. You know, you can beat him up a little bit, but don't
Yeah.
don't hurt him.
Yeah. You be good. You had a good 4th of July, though, before we get out of
Excellent 4th
here?
of July, yes.
Nice.
Got to
Family,
spend it
friends, all that
with-
stuff?
I got to spend it with my girlfriend, so it was
Awesome.
good times.
You go out and see the fireworks?
Actually, we didn't. You know, we went out to Lake George and did a little shopping that day,
Oh,
and
sweet.
just spent the night watching TV, watching some movies.
Awesome. That's good to hear, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully nobody got injured. I heard a crazy story about some kid that wrapped like 250 sparklers up and it blew up.
Oh, for
He's
goodness.
like blind now. He's like severely burned face. He had to get a bunch of stuff to like screws, plates, everything in his arm. He's like his part of his leg was amputated. All because of sparklers, a bunch of them together blew up. So
Wow.
when you're dealing with that stuff, seriously, just make sure you're careful. Like, don't just do stuff and put it all together and see what happens, because you don't want it. Sometimes what happens
There's
is
still
bad.
fireworks, no matter
Exactly.
how small they might be. There's still fireworks. It's still dangerous.
But other than that, next week we'll talk to you then. The video edition will be out tomorrow, Thursday. Check for it at Scott Radio, Scotty B.
Scotty B 1976 on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram at Scotty Bizzle 76 and on the Facebook at Scotty Blaine.
Then hit that subscribe button, Panks Podcast. You subscribe to Panks Podcast, you'll be able to check out Plex City each and every Wednesday we put it out. Also, like I said, the other podcast, just Panks Podcast in general, that's just delayed tomorrow. We got an interview with one of the people at 200. I'm not going to reveal who yet. I'll start to hype that up tomorrow.
Secrets.
Ooh. But yeah, Plex City, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. Have a good one. Enjoy.
Plex City.
Marks.
Plex City.
Marks.
Plex City.
Marks.
Plex City.
Marks.